My name's Dan, and welcome back to Going With The Ganong. If you're new around here, welcome to the channel. We are a family of 4 who moved off-grid onto our 38 acres of land, and we are slowly developing this land to be everything that we want it to be. We're just over a year into officially living off-grid, and coming up in November will be 1 year since we moved in to our off-grid cabin. This winter will mark 3 years since we bought the land, and over those 3 years, we've been working on clearing trees, clearing our lot, getting the driveway done, getting the cabin built, and just establishing ourselves as much as possible. Over the course of the last year, we've built our cabin, although yet to be finished. We built our shed, the wood shed behind me, and we've moved my workshop down here and got it situated just this last month. Over the course of the fall last year, we lived in our 20-foot GeoPro trailer, which is an off-grid trailer. It was perfect for what we needed, but it got pretty small. We survived heat waves through September in there and snowfall through November. And although the cabin was far from finished, it was last year in November that we officially moved in just in time for winter. We were cozy, warm, and happy through the winter, even though the cabin is far from finished. And we're coming up on our second winter in there, and it's still not done yet. But as we come up on our second winter in the cabin, for one, it's just ridiculous to think that we've been down here living in this cabin for almost a year. Something that we built with our own hands, 100% hammering nails. It was so much work last year. So as we come up on the second winter, we're gonna take a chance to make a little bit of a different video and just reflect on what it's been like to officially have been living off-grid for over a year and to live in this cabin for a year now, off-grid. We're going to take the time in this video just to talk about some of our favorite parts, most challenging things, and biggest lessons learned over the last year while we've started to establish ourselves off-grid. We're going to start off with one of the biggest things we've learned and our biggest takeaways after living in a 20-foot trailer and a 392-foot square cabin over the last year, and that is we've learned how little you need in life. There's definitely things that we wish we had that would be a lot more convenient. For example, we still don't have running water in the cabin. We're going to, we'll get there, but we don't have that yet. So over the last year, if we need hot water, we put it in a pot and we boil it on the propane stove. If we need water for a shower, we fill a pot and we have a submersible shower pump. Now, is that inconvenient? Yes, but it helps us realize how little we really need. We've also pared down possessions. In a 392 square foot cabin with no shed until this spring, we had to find a way, make the choices of what was most important to us to keep and what we could do away with. We've pared down a lot. Most of what we own is inside this cabin, and we do have a storage shed because there's lots of extras, because here in Canada, it's warm in the summer and you need shorts and t-shirts, and in the winter, you need coats, boots, snowsuits. And to go along with that, we've learned that although things might be uncomfortable or even inconvenient, it doesn't mean they're not doable. Just like our water situation. We're gonna go fill up our water at a local place that we can fill up these jugs, bring it back, we fill our IBC tote, but we're nearing the end of being able to do that because we're in October and these taps get shut off. But the truth is, it's inconvenient to have to go get water, but it's highly doable. We've survived for over a year filling up on water, just having to take care of our water levels and know where we're at and know what we need. Is it inconvenient at times? Yes. But once again, inconvenient does not mean it isn't doable. Now, along with that, comes some of our challenges, and some of our biggest challenges have absolutely still been to do with water. Probably one of the biggest challenges with water is making sure you have enough of it at all times to do dishes, to drink. It's just not as easily available as turning on a tap. Along with water, another struggle, and we're getting very close to handling this one, is the disposal of water. So we're working on getting a drain system done, but right now we don't have one, which means every day, at the end of the day, I have to take 2 large buckets from the kitchen into the woods, far enough that there's no smell or animals coming close to the cabin, and dump them in a place. And that's the same with our human waste from the toilet. We have to dispose of those. Now, that one is never going away. We are always gonna have a composting toilet out here, and that's just how it's gonna be. But it absolutely has been a struggle at times to transition to that. It was definitely a struggle before we made the composting toilet. I don't even want to talk about that one. Now, the next challenge that I can think of is definitely just that there is a never-ending list of things to do, and when a new thing gets added to your list, the other ones change in priority, and there is always projects that you started and they don't get finished. And there are a ton of projects around here that are on a list, something else comes up and they get prioritized, and then we don't finish some of the projects that we started. One of the most glaringly obvious ones is the cabin itself. Now the cabin itself on the exterior hasn't changed since November of last year. On the interior, we did do a little bit of work to get some walls up and a door in for our bathroom so that we could actually have company over. We built an interior clothes storage and makeshift kitchen counter with a sink in it. But other than that, there is still half of a cabin project left. We need to finish this thing off. So definitely one of the biggest challenges to off-grid living is that never-ending, evolving list of things to do. Now I must say, as much as that's a challenge, there's also part of me that likes that. I absolutely love doing these projects, and when it's nice and you're feeling good, those projects are awesome. But every once in a while, you don't really feel like doing stuff, and you still have to. That is the challenge. Well, now that the sun miraculously came out, that's going to bring us to the next challenge. I'll be back. It wouldn't be an off-grid video if we didn't talk about the struggle of power. But let's get the solar panel out first because the sun's out and we need to use that. All right, we are pulling well over 100 watts, and with this smaller AC 180, that should be a good charge today if we keep getting sun like this. Even if it goes cloudy for a little bit and back, we should be able to charge the thing up. When we first moved into the cabin though, our off-grid challenge was just the amount of power we had. We had an EcoFlow Delta and then our Blue Eddy AC 180, really a comparable size. They're really the same size and the same capacity. Battery size is very similar. And we survived off that, and now every day we had to run the generator. To start, we could only charge the Blue Eddy AC 180 on the generator if we were also charging the EcoFlow, and that's because the EcoFlow didn't mind the unclean power of our regular generator, but the Blue Eddy did. But whenever we plugged in the EcoFlow and it was charging, it must have calmed down the frequency. I really don't understand enough about it, but the Blue Eddy would charge. The other challenge, and this one, it's a little bit embarrassing. If you leave, you need to make sure you have a plan when you're off-grid. We went away for one weekend and we thought we would have enough power with our EcoFlow to leave the fridge on and let it be. But when we got back, the EcoFlow was at 0% and it was dead, completely dead, which is not something you usually want to do to one of these battery packs. Then it happened a second time. The second time, we kind of knew it might happen, really didn't mean for it to happen. I don't even fully remember the story, but it went to 0 again. And after that, we just had a damaged battery, and now we don't have it. Unfortunately, that's our error. We brought it to 0 and let it sit at 0 for too long. Now I think it's okay if they go to 0 and you recharge them pretty soon. That's kind of a way to calibrate them, and we attempted to calibrate this one multiple times, but it's dead. Thankfully, we have been able to have the two Blue Eddies now that we have, so our whole cabin right now runs off our AC240 and B210 pairing. It's great, but we still do have to run our generator every day right now because we don't have solar set up. Our solar is going to have to be set up pretty much right here where we are, about 100 feet from the cabin. The longer your cords are, the more loss there's going to be, and it's going to take a decent amount of solar to keep us good through the winter anyway. But even through the winter, when we have a decent amount of solar, we're still going to have to run our generator to keep our batteries topped up, living off-grid in Canada. Now, although there's been lots of challenges, things that we've needed to learn, things we maybe weren't expecting with this off-grid life, let's move on though and talk about the things we love. One of our favorite things about living off-grid, we live in the woods. There's nobody around. The cars can't even see up here when they drive by on the road. We are set back a little over 100 meters from the road, actually. Not only that, but when we live in such a small cabin, 392 square feet for 2 adults and a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, we have learned that although on a rainy day or a really snowy day, you might need to stay inside, we actually like living outside more than inside. And I think a lot of people do, but when you live in an 1,800 square foot home, there's a lot more attraction to staying inside. But here, we spend our days outside. One of our favorite things about this off-grid life we've chosen is that we live on 38 acres and we just really have a cabin to live, sleep, and cook in, a shelter, stay warm and dry, but for the most part, we spend our days outside. And one bonus love from here at our off-grid land, which has nothing to do with off-grid, but everything to do with living in the forest. Look at these fall colors. I mean, the camera is just not gonna do it justice. There is vibrant red, orange, yellow, and it is everywhere. The leaves changing color is in full swing, but there's definitely something special about those fall colors being your trees in your forest. Another thing we've grown to really love is the indoor fires. Now I know you don't have to live off grid to have a wood stove, but the wood stove is absolutely a staple of our cabin. It is a main feature, and even through September this year, on mornings and evenings, we would have to throw in a little bit of wood and get a little fire going to take the chill out of the air. It is our only source of heat in the cabin. We absolutely love it. And along with that, and 38 acres of land, comes with the fact that we have free firewood for the winter. This is about 2 cords of wood. Last year, we actually probably only used 1.5. I'm sure this year, because we'll be in there just a little bit longer, we're gonna use a little bit more, but free firewood. Probably one of the things we love the most about this lifestyle that we've chosen is that we're doing it all ourselves. We're making the choices and we're actually doing all of the work. To have full control and full choice over what we're doing and get the satisfaction of knowing that this is ours. This is something that we've made and this is fully ours. There's just no feeling like it.